Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Um, by the way of introduction, I'm Pastor J. Archibald B. Wallow. It is a great pleasure to be here with you again on um, this great Saturday, um, September 4th, 2001. I'm thrilled. I'm excited. I'm happy to be here. I'm hoping that uh, you can join us and just follow our program today. We're going to be having a great discussion about our country. And so I want to say thank you for following our videos. Uh, please share this video if you can. Before I just go into the introduction of what we'll be talking about today, I just want to say that I am a very proud Liberian. Yesterday, the pride of our nation, the Lone Star of Liberia, um, had a game with the Super Eagles of Nigeria. For those of you that did not watch the game, you missed a beautiful performance by the national team, the Lone Star of Liberia. Although we went down to Nigeria 2-0, but I was proud by what our boys did yesterday. Liberia, the national team, it is still a work in progress. Yes, we are, familiar with what the Lone Star can do and what the Lone Star used to do in the past. But yesterday was not our best days as it relates to soccer. Liberians youth and Liberians as a whole, we love this game called football, or in America's soccer. We love this game, and I am praying that we will, see the importance of what this game, football, can do in unifying our people, in unifying Liberians. That is one thing that we all, as Liberians, can agree on. When the Lone Star is playing, we are excited. We go all out to cheer our national colors. And even though yesterday we went down to Nigeria, but I was very proud, about what the performance that the boys put up yesterday. So there are more games to go. There are more, games to go. It was, the beginning of the World Cup qualifiers, and we are praying with the players, the coaching staff, and all of the officials that accompany the team. I think they left Nigeria on their way to Cameroon to get prepared for their next game. We are hoping for the best results from that game. Yeah, we are looking forward to the time Liberia will be qualified to play in the World Cup. We told the judge we are 11 who have done it for us. But, things happen. But we want to bless God. And that Liberia as a nation can be represented in such, a tournament. And we know that our best days are ahead. And we are praying for that. I just wanted to, update you on that. So that's what happened yesterday. Well, so today, last week, we supposed to talk about the national security concerns and national security implications in Liberia, in our country. But we couldn't do that because we did not have our guests on. But today we're going to do that. We're going to, have our guest on today for us to talk about the national security implication. So I quickly want to welcome my co-host, Brother Joseph Brown. Brother Brown, you are welcome. Thank you for joining us. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clear.
Okay, good. Good. So as I was saying, today we'll be discussing the national implications, national security implications in our country, and also corruption. If we have time, we will, dive in a little bit about, the preparation of the CPP formation and also the setting up of the CPP primaries. We have Honorable Segbe, Moses Segbe, a national security expert in the United States, but a very brilliant and vibrant Liberian. He will be here to talk to us about, the national security of Liberia. What are some of the things that we need to be concerned about, and how together we can make national security a topic for the 2023 elections, because it is that important. But before we have our guests, I just wanted to mention this. This platform, we discuss national issues from a biblical perspective. So I just quickly wanted to let everybody know, and I wanted to read a text to us just very quickly before we can have our guests, and that would be Psalms 34. Verse 7 says, "The angel of the Lord encamps round about those who feared the Lord, and he delivers them." I think for any nation, any country on the face of this earth, the best security you can have is the security that God provides. I don't care how sophisticated your armies are or your security personnel are. The best security a country can have is the security that God provides. And this psalm that I read, it is actually a psalm of experience. This is David's experience of the security that God provided for him when he was running away from his master Saul. And so the Bible says that those that fear the Lord, he provides his angels to encamp round about them, and they deliver those that fear the Lord. I think that's part of what we need in our national security. Well, when we think about national security, when we think about security, there are two things: physical security and spiritual security. Physical security is never a guarantee until the spiritual security of a nation is a guarantee. And so, why we think about the national security implications, national security concerns in our country, there is one thing that I want all Liberians to understand. We as Liberians, we have to fear God. We have to make God our standard of living. Our national leaders have to understand that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, but the wisdom to apply things that keeps the nation safe. And so that is the best security we can get as a country. That is the best security we can get. Proverbs chapter 18 verse 10 says, "The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and they are safe." You see, the Lord provides a place of refuge. The Lord provides a place of comfort. He provides a place of safety. for those that fear him. And so why we get set to talk about national security, the national security of our country today, I want us to understand that there is no security without God. Nothing is guaranteed, nothing is secure, nothing is safe without the Lord. That's why the Psalms says that they that fear the Lord provides his angels to encamp about them. I think Liberia is safe or safer when God is involved in our national security, because he will provide his angels. While we sleep, the Lord protects. His angels do that on our behalf. And so we will continue to pray for our country. We will continue to talk about the good things we need to do as Liberians, and most especially the things that are going to guarantee our peace and our safety. We will continue to talk about those things. National security is important, my people. Without stability, without peace, without security, we cannot have the progress that we need to make. And that's what I think is very important for us to talk about. Roger, what do you think?
Well, national security is something that Liberians we need to look at carefully. And I'm glad we're going to have an expert here today at 5:30 talking to us, Liberians around the world, about national security. Once we understand the fundamental or the basis of national security, then I think we all can participate in the growth and security of the country. And especially to us, the common people, not just the government is providing national security for us, but how can we, the people, be involved in in that discourse, in the form of protecting our country. I just can't wait, and I think it's a very interesting topic, and I think all Liberians should be aware of the national security issues, national security threat to Liberia. Liberia is a beautiful country, open-minded people. They open their arms to foreigners and other stuff, but we should be very mindful of the things we do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I strongly agree with you, because national security is not just the responsibility of the national government. Well, yeah, government protects its people, its sovereignty, its borders. But for national security to be effective, it has to involve everybody.
Yes.
And those are some of the things we'll be talking to the expert today. How people can get involved into national security. What are the dangers of national security? What are the concerns now? And all of these questions, he's going to provide answers. But beyond that, though, Brother Joseph, he is also going to be making some recommendations to our national leaders. There are a lot of people that don't think about this. Listen, Liberia, we were at war a few years ago. We are a post-war country. And so we should understand the vital importance of security. Right now, there are a lot of things that are happening in Liberia that should concern us. And those are some of the things that our guests will be speaking to today. How we as Liberians, not just Liberians in Liberia, but also Liberians in the diaspora, how we all can join hands together for us to make our country a safe place, communities a safe place to live, where people can raise their children, where people can live in peace. Someone told me, say, even if I don't have food to eat, I want to sleep in peace. Peace of mind is very important for anybody, and that is exactly what we want for our country.
Yes, yes. And this, like I said again, and this is very interesting. I think all Liberians should be able to contribute positively to the national security of Liberia, and especially, like you said, those in the diaspora and those also in Liberia. It is imperative that we take into consideration these things. The safety of our the safety of ourselves and our fellow Liberians and foreigners are very important to the development of the private sector or economic status in Liberia. So let us not look at it as something simple, but let's look at something that can develop the country as a whole. Um, Once we all participate in it, and create a preferred avenue that foreigners, investors can come to Liberia and say, look, this country is safe enough for me to invest this amount of money in this country. I'm going to do this, and it's gonna develop Liberia. I think we should be aware of it, and we should be a part of the development of Liberia. Can't wait till the guest come on, who is an expert, and let us know some of the national security issues in Liberia that we can talk about, and our roles as individual and government community and contributors can play in Liberia development.
Roger, is that a number we have? Should in case someone want to call to, participate in the program, is that a number that they can call?
Well, if they would love to call my cell phone, that's fine. I can they can use my number, and then we all can maybe next time also too, what we can do, we if we want people to come in, we can create the links and put it right on Facebook, so that when they want to be a part of the discussions, we can let them come in maybe 30 minutes to the end of the show, or you can log in and just watch
Yeah,
until
and
30 minutes
also
to the end of the show, and
we
they can
we
participate.
we are live streaming on Facebook and on YouTube. Just look for at media require media at require media. You will be connected to our programs. Um, and so you can please send us your comments. You can text us if you have a question that really interests you on national security. Please send out a text and we will be able to read out your question to our guests. Roger, we are not only talking about national security, but we are also talking about corruption. Corruption has been a very serious issue in our country. um, what's your experience with corruption?
That I hear some distortion. I don't know where it's coming from.
You hearing talking at the background?
I'm hearing like a grinding noise. I don't know if you're hearing it.
No,
Or maybe
I'm
Jamie.
not.
Okay. Maybe I'm with my cell phone. Let me try to use my computer to log in. All right, that's fine. I can hear it now. I'm not hearing it right now.
No, I'm not hearing it.
And I think my volume.
Yeah, I was asking. I said we'll also be talking about corruption. What is your take on corruption? What is your experience with corruption in our society? It's been a really really disappointing
Well,
fight. Quiet.
corruption is one of the biggest thing that is killing Liberia right now. And not just Liberia as a whole, but the African continent as a whole. Um, Corruption. I don't know how we going to eradicate corruption in Liberia. It's going to be difficult, but we can do it together. We can do it together. I see corruption as um, corruption is holding the progress of Liberia. corruption is one of the darkest of Liberia. And I think everybody who is involved in corruption should have some kind of a penalty. You know what I'm saying? If you especially when you are embezzling the country funds that should be going to other things in Liberia, if you are embezzling these funds, yes, you should be penalized for it, but not be promoted for it. I think corruption is something that we really need to talk about. And most likely, people, especially government officials, they use the vocabulary in a different form. But embezzlement and stealing, what's the difference from embezzlement and stealing? All right. If you have somebody walk down the street and he is hungry and pickpocket for maybe $5 or $15 just to put food in his table, but you have the government official who is embezzling, that's the big word they use, taking hundreds of thousands of dollars from the Liberian people. And then you give him the microphone and the platform. He has been escorted with police and stuff, and he's sitting at home. But why the young man or young woman who just stole $5 or $15 to eat is being beaten severely by the citizen? But you can't beat your government officials. I just think we should hold everybody to higher standards when it comes to corruptions or embezzlement or how whatever way the police want to call it. We should be able to hold everybody up to higher standards.
Roger, this issue of corruption is a very serious issue, and I agree with you. Right, I agree with you. How we treat this issue based on who you are, your status in the society, and the position you have, and that's how we treat it. But corruption is actually is Roger. I think corruption is worse than stealing. Corruption is worse than
Huh?
stealing. Yeah, but in the commandments of God in Exodus chapter 20, one of the original commandments God gave us was we shouldn't steal. You know, and the thing I want to say about the commandments in Exodus chapter 20 was that God gave those commandments to the nation. So all of the commandments in there, they are for the nation. They are not just, commandments that apply to individuals or to the church. They are commandments for the nation. So when God said, thou shalt not steal, he is speaking to people that are in national leadership as well. Don't steal from your country. Don't take what is not yours. And that is what we are experiencing in Liberia. The issue of corruption, it cannot be overemphasized because it's everywhere. It's in government, it's in the private sector, it's in the church, it's in the home, it's in the community. It's everywhere. Corruption has become a way of life for our country. It has become a cultural thing. And that is what makes it dangerous because, bro, Joe, yes, there are a lot of people, and when I say a lot of people, I'm talking about the young people, right? They believe that there is no way you can make money in Liberia by an earnest effort. You have to steal for you to get rich. You have to steal for you to make money. You have to be corrupt. That's why the young generation envy people that have success in our country because their thought process is that your success was only possible because you have the opportunity to steal, and that is very unfortunate. because a country that thrive on corruption, that is a society that will soon collapse. And this is very serious. So we will be talking about that as well with our guests today. We'll be talking about corruption as well because it poses a serious threat to our national security. And it is only good for us to talk about it, and find some remedy or some solutions to how we all together can fight corruption. Because, bro Joe, I tell you the truth, the citizens themselves can encourage corruption because almost everybody is involved. Everybody is involved, and it is killing our country. It is killing our progress. We have to do something about it, but we cannot do something about it as individuals. It has to take every one of us. And the way we start to do that is for us to talk about it, for us to put our voices together and talk about it. And I think that's where we're going to begin tonight. For us to be able to talk about these things that happens in our country as it relates to corruption and how we can fight that. When President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf came into office, one of the things she said in her inaugural speech was corruption is a public enemy that needed to be dealt with hand on. She made that pronouncement, but her government left with the fight, and her government became the most corrupt government in our country. For the 12 years she was president, not because when she made a statement she was not serious about it, but because we need the political will for people to fight corruption, and government cannot do it alone. It has to be done collectively. It has to be done together. It has to be done with every one of us on board, whether people in Liberia or people in the diaspora. The more we talk about it, the more we shine light on it, the better it becomes. Are you hearing me? Can you hear me, bro Joe?
Yeah, I was trying to put the volume on my phone.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we want to again welcome you to Let's Talk Liberia. Today we will have in studio with us Honorable Moses Sembe, a national security expert. We will be talking about the national security implications in our country, what we need to know about national security, measures that need to be taken for us to address those concerns. And then Honorable Sigbe will also be giving some recommendations on how we can prioritize national security. We need Liberia to be a place that is safe, that is peaceful, that is stable, for all of us and for our children. We need our communities to be a place that is worth living. And so the national security of our country is very important. We will also talk about corruption in our society and how we can fight this systemic corruption in the Labyrinth society, how we can do it together. And so those are the things we'll be talking about today. If you're just joining us, I mentioned earlier that I am proud of the Lone Star of Liberia, even though yesterday they went down 2-0 to the Super Eagles of Nigeria. But we want to, appreciate the players, the coaching staff, and all of the technical people that make the participation of our country possible. I want to also say a big thank you to the president, President We are, for the support that he continues to give the national team. We pray that their next game, they will give us, they will give us a win. We are looking forward to a time that Liberia will participate in the World Cup. We are yielding for that. We want that. We are looking forward to that time. We want to see our country on the biggest stage in football. And so we want to appreciate the boys, and we want to continue to pray for them to be in good health, for them to do what is required, at least to qualify the Lone Star to the World Cup. Roger, you watched the game yesterday?
No, I didn't. I never had the opportunity to watch it because I was at work. Maybe I need to get my boots and my jersey back ready so I can go play in the national team so I can take them to walk up. That's a joke. Yeah, but the Lone Star forever, man. The Lone Star Liberia has a beautiful team, and I think with all the support, we can get there. We can make it. We just gotta keep trying, working hard, and and be futuristic and hoping that one day, we're gonna bring the World Cup home to Liberia, and there's an avenue for that. And one thing, since I already talked about this, I think it's imperative. I think it's important now for us to look at soccer academies in Liberia. We need people to invest into soccer academies in the Liberia. We have young kids who have talents. We need to put the kids into academies. They create academies. Sport lovers, people who have the finances. Please, if you can create something, let's start this. They create academies where we can have the young boys play together, play soccer together, and grow and develop and become a better team. You know, I think it's time now. We got to take a look at it. A look at it and invest in it. Can you hear me, Pastor Waller? Pastor Waller. Well, I think Pastor Waller has muted himself. But again, I just want to let you know you are listening to Let's Talk Show from Action Required Media. And Action Required Media has three main purposes. And again, to link Liberian organizations around the world together, to spread the good news of Jesus Christ, and to entertain. And our three core main values are educate, entertain, and empower. Here we educate, we empower, and we entertain people. We ask you to be free. If you want to be a part of a team, feel free, come and communicate to us, and then we can put you on the team. But our purpose is to link Liberians around the world together, and also to spread the goodness of Christ. And we also entertain, and especially the Let Us Talk show, like Pastor Waters said rightly, is the involvement of the church into the national discourse of Liberia, so that church can be involved. We're trying to find a place of the churches in Liberia in government, what the church ruled in the government. So if you're listening, feel free. And if you want to be a part of the show, like I said, if you're listening and your pastor is around, get in contact with your pastor. We can call your pastor, we can contact them and make them come on the show and let's talk Liberia. Let's talk all things Liberia.
Yeah, bro, Joe. Thank you. So, in the next 15 minutes, we should have our guests on for us to have this beautiful conversation. But yeah, so again, what Bro Joe was saying, we want to, we provided this platform for pastors to have their say, for pastors, bishops, imams to come here and let's talk Liberia. Let's talk about the national happenings in our country. Somebody said, for wicked people to succeed, good people have to keep quiet. And we don't want to do that, right? We have more good people in our country than the bad ones. So we want to give the good people the voice, the platform for them to be able to talk about the things that are going on in our country that we need to improve. This is not, just about criticizing one person, criticizing one party, criticizing one, administration. This is about us doing things together for us to make our country a better place. And that's what this platform is about. This platform prioritizes the word of God. This should be the time we as Liberians will realize that God's words out of our governance is a disaster. It is a disaster. And so anything that we do, everything that we talk about, everything that we will mention on this platform, we want to do it with a biblical perspective because it is only God that kept our country going. It is only God that can do the things that we want as Liberians. And so we want to welcome you if you are a pastor, a bishop, an imam. We want you to take into great consideration to come here, add your voice to the many voices. Let us speak, about our country in a way that our children will learn that this place, this land of liberty, this place that we call Liberia, this place that we call home, it is only us that can build it. It is only us that can make it better. It is only us that can make it the country we want it to be. And so let us do it, but we have to do it together. We have to do this together, my people. And so we want to welcome everybody, for us to be able to talk about the things that are very important to our society. And then so today, we will be talking about national security, right, with a national security expert. Our guest, he's one of the people you want to talk to about this kind of topic because he has been in the national security field for a very long time. He has interacted with national security experts in the United States, in the United States Congress, and so we want to hear from him. We want to, pick his brain to talk about this very important topic. And so in the next 10 minutes, we'll have our guest on, and then we'll ask the questions that you might not have the opportunity to ask. But we want to make national security discussion, a national discussion for the 2023 presidential elections. Okay, we have to know what our politicians are thinking in unifying the country, prioritizing national security. Liberians need to live in peace. We need to live in a safe environment, safe communities. We need our country to be stable. The only way that investors can go back to our country to invest in our economy, to invest in our country, all of the good things that they talk about, it is only when we are able to prioritize national security. And so we want to do that.
All right. So I'm trying to get on my computer now.
Yeah, but you got to lock up on your this thing here. You got the feedback. I'm hearing the other something.
Yeah, but this what I'm trying to do now. I can't see the video on the computer.
Yeah, so we want to, want to welcome you if you are just joining us. And I want to encourage you to please share our video. Share it as many times as you can. Brother Joe, you give me feedback.
Log me up the other log me up the other one. Hold on. I'm getting that.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for staying with us as we wait for our guests to talk about this very important topic. There are other things that we will be talking about as well with our guests. We will also be talking about the formation of the CPP and why they get ready to go to the primaries. We'll be talking about, just briefly, the two candidates that are involved, that are the front runners in the CPP primaries. Vice President Joseph Yuman Boakai and Honorable Alexander B. Cummings. We will be talking about them just briefly. Today is not that they want to talk about them in a full discussion, but we want to talk about the CPP and the CPP formation as well, and to see what we can say about that. Well, so we want to welcome Honorable Moses Singbe. We will be today talking about national security implications in our country, Liberia. And if we have time, we'll also dive a little bit into the systemic corruption we are experiencing in our society. And we have no other better person to talk to than Honorable Singbe. Honorable Singbe, you are welcome to Let's Talk Liberia. Thank you for making time for us today. We waited for you last week. We tried to get you on. We couldn't do it, but we are happy that you are here today. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you for the invite, and it's my pleasure and honor to participate in this conversation. And I hope that we can deduce from this conversation some kind of recommendation, topic agenda on how we can correct some of those issues in our country.
So before we go to the discussion, I was looking on your Facebook page. I saw this photo with you and is that Jack Kennedy and Ted Kennedy?
No,
can you talk to us a little bit about that photo?
Well, that photo was taken about a year and a half ago during a campaign rally that I attended with a good friend, my friend for over 30 years, Mr. Patrick Kennedy, the sons of Edward Kennedy and the nephew of John F. Kennedy. And in that photo also was the presence of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King III, who I got to know since 1998 when he generously decided to participate in a rally called in DC, and that was when we first interacted. Since 1998, we've maintained that relationship, and it was Patrick who invited him to the rally in Washington, D.C. And you got to understand that both come from a very civil rights engaged family. The Kennedys are well known since JFK came in and tried to change things in the United States and Martin Luther King. And you need no explanation about Martin Luther King, but his son has followed his path since his father was slain and killed in the late 60s.
Okay, I know you are driving, but can you position your camera a little bit? We are not getting your full image. Good. Okay, that's perfect. Well, I am here with my co-host, Brother Joseph Brown. So the two of us will be during the interview, but we are happy to have you on Let's Talk Liberia. Thank you. So my first question to you will be this. Let's begin with this national security issue, right? In the most simplest way and in a Liberian context, how will you define national security?
Well, national security, pretty much by definition and to the practical sense, is that any event or occurrence that draw national issue and threatens the safety and the normalcy of a nation. That means we just had a national security issue in the United States that had to do with the hurricane. Because what happened is that in Arizona, in Louisiana, because of the flood, it created a security threat. And that's a major issue that have hurt the country. In fact, the hurricane has, damaged a lot of areas, and we saw a flood for the first time in New York, Philadelphia, and New Jersey. And those have national security implication because it threatened the livelihood of the people in those areas. And the only reason why it's not so exacerbated because it's within a particular area. And even with the loss of electricity, in the whole of New Orleans, provides, bring that thing to light pretty much. So national security is anything that threatens the economic growth or the security of a nation. It's classified national security. In the case of Liberia, post-civil conflict and with the rebuilding process, the national security interest is very prevalent. The threat to national security is very prevalent. And I think those are things that that's why ECOWAS, at the initial stage of the administration of democracy, they are asked for ECOWAS to be present in Liberia for a period of time to not have that major national security issue. And so Liberia still has not recovered and still is not at the point of, having a safe communities throughout the country. So we have the national security threat is pretty much prevalent and visible in Liberia.
Okay, before I bring Bro Joseph in, let me ask you this. Well, so my next question would be, what is your most prevalent concern about Liberia's national security?
Oh, well, I was in Liberia in 2013 and I did some assessment. I volunteered my service. And then I traveled to Liberia in March of this year. And I can tell you, visibly, you can see that anything in Liberia can create national security threat. We have no running water, consistent running water and irrigation system. We have the fragile, some kind of tentative electricity in the country. We have two major roads to the major part of the city and to a government entity. We have many folks who are striving every day on the streets, and anything can raise a national security threat to that nation. And that is if a group of guys just get up and go and protest and you don't have the capacity to control, especially so our security forces are not trained and equipped enough to be able to address any major issue that may occur in our country. So we faced, and we understand that it's post-war where we had total anarchy. And I don't know if anyone can tell me any country that recovered from a civil war in less than 20 years or 30 years, where you have total anarchy, no rule of law or anything. And it's not an easy road, but again, we can make strides little by little, make baby steps in at least creating a security sector that is needed for the country.
Rajo.
Yes, Honorable Moses, I just want to appreciate your time you have taken to be with us today to enlighten us, the Liberian people around the world, about national security issues. And I hope you stay safe driving. But this is my question to you. The national security issue in Liberia does have to do with the involvement of the government and the people. Do the common people have a
Well, I didn't get the whole question, but I think I got the gist and the important part of the question.
Yeah, I think what he was asking is the role of the common people. What would be their role in national security? The citizens.
Well, I can tell you, there's no security without the involvement of your civilians, of the masses. The masses are the one that will share information. And in this country, we know that community policing is something that has been promoted as a model program throughout the United States. Policing is not just restricted to officers, trained officers. The only difference between civilians and police officers is that the police officers take an oath and they go through their academy, learn the laws, and learn what is criminal so that they can detect suspicious activities, and they can interpret the laws from it being civil or criminal at some level, and they have the power to arrest. I think you guys have heard what they say, citizens arrest. So police work is never completed without the involvement of the people, the masses. And that's why, as I stated, community policing has been something that has been evolving throughout the United States, and in the plot to do more of crime prevention. Um, so if a crime is committed or anything happened or anything is about to happen, police rely on the citizens to inform the police, and then the police can deduce from there, based on their education, whether a crime is about to be committed or a crime was committed. So it is obvious that the Liberian people or the citizens of any nation has to be a part of the security sector to make sure that everyone is safe, and that we promote what you call it, nurturing communities in whatever location we have. But in Liberia, the police, the people need to really get involved. National security or the security sector is never complete without the citizens, in a nutshell.
How do you get the citizens involved into the international security?
Well, the citizens can get involved in many different ways. And I can tell you, we have, and when I went to Liberia, I can tell you there are a lot of churches in Liberia, and we need to get community leaders. We need to build sectional leadership and build the sense of trust in certain group of people, certain leaders in a community, so that they can play an important role. You can go through the churches to do that, You can go through community organizations. We know that we got sports activities going on. You can go through those sports entity to really bring about crime prevention initiative and educating the masses on some of the threat that the country faces. In the absence of many of these things as far as, necessity, uh, running water, electricity, and those things, your area becomes very vulnerable. And I will give you an example again, whereas the city of New Orleans is in darkness. And so that creates a sense of national security because anybody can go looting and do anything. Uh, People can, just go out and create mayhem, and that you will rely on the citizens. So it's very important that the experts that are trained to bring about security build partnership with the regular citizens in the communities. And it's been very fortunate. It's been successful in the United States and other places where our citizens have taken the road and really sitting at the table and talking to law enforcement on how they can build partnership to deter crimes in the community. In with the commitment to create safe and nurturing environment.
Um, so you talk about trust. Just recently in Liberia, there was this incident that happened where the police beat this young man, and then he died from the Islamic religion, and there was a lot of our Muslim brothers and sisters that were in the street that were protesting and demonstrating against police brutality. When police or the national security officers do those kind of things to the civilians, what do you think it will? What is the impact of that on the national security of the country?
Oh, I can tell you that I'll give you an example of what impact it had on me as a young person. In 1978, no, I said it was 1979, where we had the Rest Riot. I can tell you that that changed the trajectory in the country as far as citizens and police. For people who were not around that time and people who are around can attest to this. There was a Rest Riot that took place, and that the result that became stories. I was a teenager at the time in high school, and there was a story that came out that the police people shot the first gun during the Rest Riot that involved a lot of young teenagers that at the time were demonstrating because some folks they called the progressive group or PPP, progressive people, came to Liberia and were promoting the fact that the rice could be sold for $9, and that they were totally opposed to the William R. Torber at the time, who was the president. And from there on, I mean, after the Rest Riot, what happened is that the sentiment that were in the country was that the soldier people fought for the civilians and the police people when they were shooting. And ever since then, for many of us who grew up that time, had this bitterness. And mind you, at the time, my father worked as one of the assistant director for the Liberia National Police. Believe it or not, even at that, some of us, the young people, had a bitter taste about police, and that went on for decades. And to fast forward to now, where you're recovering from a civil conflict, where police are not trained to the capacity, where police, some of the police officers, in my own estimation, are people who were exposed to the war and what have you, and still have that trauma and that PTSD and don't know how to respond adequately to incidents, may do things like you just described. And for the citizens to rise up and look at the police in that route, I think is more of a normalcy, but the government needs to at least train its officer appropriately and compensate them appropriately so that we can deal with the police community relationships. Because what happening now with that man that got beaten up is that it has created an adversarial relationship between the community and the police, and particularly the Muslim group community. And that and especially so that if these folks who beat him are not brought to justice, and we know there's no justice because this guy cannot be brought back to life. That's something we need to understand. So when we talk about bringing justice, justice is bringing that guy back to life, and there will never be justice. But what there can be is that if they can prosecute the folks who were involved in it, which would take me to another topic, if they can prosecute the folks that were involved in it to set an example that, yes, we're going to enforce the law if anything happens, no matter what position you hold in the country, I think it will begin to move in the right direction.
Yeah, before I bring Brother Joe in, let me just ask you this. So the rule of law is very important, and both the police, the Ministry of Justice, but more importantly, the court system, the judicial system should be a vibrant one. Liberia has a problem with that.
Well, we know that Liberia has a problem with the whole criminal justice system. Now, one of the things I'm going to share with you again, it was, in fact, the police department, when it was first funded, and when we go to systemic, systemic corruption, we can explain some of those issues that involve the police. Where people say, "Oh, police are panhandling in the streets and whatnot." I would let you know. I would share some pertinent information regarding that. But here, what it is: there was a man named Edwin Luzon-Hammer. Edwin Luzon-Hammer was the first, if I'm not mistaken, I hope to be corrected by anybody else, some of your folks out there, were one of the first trained police officers. Okay, he left the country and understood what criminal justice, and he went to school for criminal justice, graduated, and returned to the country. When he came back, Liberia used to have the name Liberia National Police Force. And when he came back, Edwin Luzon-Hammer, and I stand corrected, Edwin Luzon-Hammer decided to work with the leadership and told them that we need to take the word force from the police. It cannot be Liberia National Police Force because we're not supposed to be trained to use force. And that's when he advocated for that, and the name of the Liberia National Police was created at the time. So when you talk about force, it needs to be, police are not trained to apply force in their discretion any time of their duty. And I can tell you one of the things trained police officers are trained to do is they use discretions in their job every second when they're on duty. So let me respond to what you particularly call when you talk about the judicial system. What Mr. Luzon-Hammer also proposed was that the police should not be under the Department of Justice or the Ministry of Justice. Because what happens is that if police remain under the Ministry of Justice, that means the police officer works for the Ministry of Justice, and the Ministry of Justice are the one who prosecute people that commit crimes. And police officers are human beings. So when you check the 21st century policing, you will find out that police, fire, and EMT, which is those services, EMT, are under Public Safety Commissioner. The Public Safety Commission is created now in the 21st century to oversee those entities, police, fire, and first responders. Okay, so those people, being human beings, make mistakes, and they need to be prosecuted if they commit a crime in their line of duty. They're not. They're not folks who would never commit crimes. Just like any other profession, we have people who commit crime. So the police need to be taken away from the Department of Justice, from the Ministry of Justice, and create a commission for police, fire, and first responder. And those are public safety personnel. So that's a total different entity. Now, the police people who said they were doing their duty in the incident where this young man lost his life cannot be prosecuted by the Ministry of Justice, because then the Ministry of Justice will be prosecuting its own self. And we know that in Liberia, we don't have the capacity to do that. And let's go to the judges. I haven't heard anywhere of democracy where judges can be fired, but only in Liberia, judges can be taken out of the place whenever. Judges are put in place for life. And that means that the judge needs to be as neutral as clean water.
Are you talking about all judges, or are you talking about the Supreme Court justices?
All judges that are appointed needs to have no lien attached. And there's something that is called gifts. And you'd never give gifts to judges. You'd never give gifts to law enforcement, because it creates ethically, it will create
conflict of interest.
A conflict of interest. Thank you very much. That's the word I'm looking for. It creates a conflict of interest, because if you are a police officer and I saw you and I did something for you, if you saw me few hours later speeding on the street, it creates a conflict, because you said, man, this guy just gave me this. So I can tell you, in many places, 21st century judges, police officer, and those folks never take gifts. They don't accept gifts from nobody, because they have to be the most neutral people, and they have to be almost like considered saints, that they don't accept nothing, because they have to look at the facts and be able to determine whether or not someone can be found guilty or not. And we don't have that in Liberia at this time.
Roger.
You got me on mute.
Go ahead, we hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, Brother Joe, we hear you.
Okay. Honorable Moses, I appreciate all you have said. But one of my concerns here is the police in Liberia. They are short of supplies, and we talk about crimes. If a crime is committed, let's say for example in Badnesville Estate, maybe way behind the estate, they don't have the supply logistics to get there on time to respond to these crimes. And before they get there, it's like 3-4 hours. So all those armed robbers or who committed the crimes already left. So how can we, if the government we short supplies and logistics for the police won't be able to do their jobs properly to get it on time. They know to save lives and property. Okay, and also to then look at the pay of the police. If the police are not getting paid regularly to sustain themselves and their family, they're going to be like corruptions. They are going to do things that the citizens don't even want them to do. If you don't pay me, how will I respond to a crime where the armed robbers have arms, but I don't have arms to go and shoot? But I'm going to these crimes. My thing is, what would be your advice to the government about providing the logistics providing the finances for the police to be able to work effectively and safe and prevent many crimes.
Well, Mr. Brown, that's a very important question. I cannot tell you I have the answers for it, but I can give you a backdrop of where the police has come over the years, over the decades that were, when it was created, and where we are today. Let me first let you know that I have spoken to people. I've done special research on the police department in Liberia. When police was first founded, they were founded like anywhere else, like New York City, whereas they were trying to stop vagrancy, nuisance in the community, break-ins to people, fightings on the street. And Liberia is no exception to that. The first police headquarters was built on Lane Street. Most of the things that they did that they had to respond to was in Slayway and West Point. There would be fight in West Point. People would leave from there and come to Lane Street, and they didn't have no technology, no phone at the time, and say, "Oh, there's a fight going on in West Point," and the police would run from Lane Street all the way to West Point. And when they get there, the fight had been over maybe 4 or 5 hours, and they're asking the very same people who committed the crime, who were fighting here. The people said, "We don't know who were fighting." And I got this story from the very man that I just told you about, Mr. Luzon Hammer. As a young man, he used to, and I can tell you, those things are not passed down from history, and we cannot show anything of people who came before us so we can be able to learn from it. But I was very opportune and very blessed to have Mr. Luzon Hammer at the time to brief me on some of the things about policing. So fast forward, many of those police officers that were given the helmet, and they were not even given baton, they were given helmet. And that's how they used to be identified as police officers. And they never had a salary created for the police department when it was first founded in Liberia. Okay? The way the police got compensated, Slayway, the Do River down there. The merchants used to come in the boat and the canoe. And Old Baker, right there behind CDB King School, Johnson Street, that was they had the first market ground. Everybody used to come from the Broad Street area, from those places where they used to work, and go there in the evening to buy food. The trailers used to come down there and sell. The police, after working on Lane Street and working in the city area, they used to walk to Johnson Street and help the merchants so that people would not vandalize or steal their crops. And at the end of the day, when the people sell their crop and the ones that they haven't sold, they begin to give to the police officers to take home. And now the police used to feed their family. So you see where we come from? Now fast forward to today. There is nowhere in the world where police were first founded. They have very small demands at the time, but with the sophistication of the human life now, there's more critical need to adequately train our police officers. Now, when you adequately train a police officer, you need to pay them competently. You're saying police officer cannot accept gifts. So the police officer should be paid at the level where he would not have to accept any gifts. That way, if he gets caught accepting gifts, it's a crime by itself. And he can be prosecuted for that. But we don't adequately, post-war again, in fact, before the war, police officers were paid okay, I would say, when I was there. Because we knew police officers who lived their livelihood dependent on being police officer, way before the coup, before the war, and before the coup. So fast forward to the 21st century, policing now in other places are looking to train. You never, and it's required that every police officer in the US, and we don't want to compare, and people always say, why we compare the United States to Liberia? The reason why we do that is because we've traveled to learn so that we can replicate best practices
Right.
to suit our needs. We know we can't implement everything, but we need to look at what's going on and extract from there what we think can work in our culture and see how we can adapt to those things. So police in this country has to have 40 hours of training every year. The more you train, the more money you get because you're looking to be best at doing your job. The first thing is that the academy that they have there called Police Academy should be totally dissolved. That would be my first recommendation, and create an institute for law enforcement. Whereas even the mosquito police had to go to school to understand how to secure a crime scene. If a crime is committed, we got too many security people over there, and those people are supposed to help the police, the law enforcement until they come. We don't have the capacity to be everywhere in the country. And that's where civilian and other security apparatus step in. You got mosquito police or whoever, I'm using my word now when I was young. And those people used to be trained.
Because I was just about to ask you, who is the mosquito police?
You see, and some of the people I saw them in Liberia with cutlasses standing next to the building. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I'm a security man." That's what the people we used to call mosquito police because all day they just slapping themselves on the face like this. They say they outside. And today's Liberia, because of post-war era, a lot of people need the security when they go to bed. So they hire these people and say the security. But these people are not trained. They're A-trained. If a crime is committed, they don't know how to secure the crime scene until police come to gather evidence from that crime scene to be able to do their due diligence in investigating and coming to the root of what needs to happen moving forward. Whether somebody will be arrested or not, an investigation needs to take place, and security needs to be trained. So I am a huge supporter of not having the police academy because, again, the police academy creates a conflict under the Department of Justice. People need to be trained. Police need to have their own academy, yes, for their recruits. But ongoing treatment, you need to create a police institution of law enforcement institution or criminal justice institution. So, and we got a whole lot of them around here. The very police that are trained at the academy go to these places for advanced training. In gangs, in cyberspace, bullying, and you name it. There's so many other areas that police need to get training in so they can be aware of it. And we come to the DEA. You got DEA in Liberia.
Right.
Liberia has serious drug problem. The DEA department for what is it? Drug Enforcement Agency.
Right.
How can they do their work effectively when they don't have logistics? You're very complete. The DEA, you got DEA, you said Drug Enforcement Agency, the people don't even have a canoe. You got over 400 miles of sea coast. What you think go on in the ocean? How you think drugs coming into our little country? It's not just by air. It's not just by air.
Or by land.
Or by land. The water is there. We see people fishing 3 o'clock in the morning with little lights on the ocean. And they say the man fishing in the morning, they bring the fish so they can buy it. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And our DEA don't even have a canoe. I'm not talking about boat. DEA needs to navigate the ocean. They need to be able to see what's going on.
Segment.
Yes, sir.
I think you are making a very important point here. Um, but let me ask you this before I ask my question. All of the things you are saying, they are so true, because even as we speak right now, everything, as you indicated, is attached to national security, whether it is the economy, whether it is unemployment, whether it
Yep.
is salary increment
Absolutely.
or lack thereof.
Absolutely.
All of those things are connected to national security. And right now, Liberia economy is in the hands of foreigners.
Yep.
President
Oh.
Weah said in his inaugural speech that Liberians were not going to be spectators in their economy. But,
Mm.
Liberians are not even spectators. Liberians are not even participating in their economy as we speak. There's my question to you. What do you understand Liberia national security interest is, or what it should be?
Well, I'm not in Liberia, and I can't tell you. What I can tell you is that my last two trips, and I made some assessment, and I got to understand that the national security of Liberia is very high, very, very high. When you walk to the bank, and I was in the bank, and we were standing in line, and someone came in, a Nigerian businessman came in with a briefcase and walked directly past us and went in the back. And there were at least 4 or 5 people that followed him in the back. When they all came out, and I can't tell you what happened there, but when they all came out, they had bright smiles on their faces. And this guy, and they forgot about everybody else in the place, and they walked out. And the guy walked out with the briefcase when he came from the back. So these are things that are pretty visible in the country. To tell the country what to do, I think, and I was one person who said the 12 years of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration were actually those years of what you call it, what the word I'm looking for, interim. That is, it should have been the opportunity to start to build foundations and identify all of the needs that this country has post-war to be able to become economically strong, to create a safe and nurturing environment, and so forth. So the interim, the
Hello, we're not hearing you.
Yeah, I think
Hello?
his signal went up. All right, he might come later. Yeah,
Yeah.
Pastor Water. This is the very. I'm so excited talking about this. It's so interesting. But let me ask this question though. Just with Liberia issue right now for national security and other stuff, right?
hello.
What? Okay,
Yeah, we
you
can
back?
hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're hearing you.
I have to call back. Let me call back.
Okay. Roger, go ahead.
Right? With Liberia issues right now, there is. I don't know how can we face the issues. Okay. Now, if police don't have the logistics to react to crimes and other stuff to be there on time, there's no way we can solve the problems. And if the economic status or the social economic status of the Liberian people cannot be to where they want to be, it's always going to be crimes. So what can we do as people or the government to provide the necessary things that everybody needs so we can be in a safe environment? If to be honest with you, if I were part of the government or if I was the head of the government, there would be a lot of suggestions and recommendations going around. If we talk about national security issues, we look at the military, the police, the community involvement. I would say to you, um, there would be a lot of recalls of constitutions, uh, bylaws, the way institutions work. Let's say, for example, like he was just suggesting with the police academy, and where the police fall under. I think it's time now we bring back the entire system, the metrics we are using in Liberia to govern Liberia as a whole. We need to bring it out and revamp it. Okay, if we can make changes to what's going on right now, the problem is not going to be solved. It's just going to be cover up. Okay, I think the police, we should have a police reform. All the other stuff, we had to get the community involved into how they can alert the government when crimes are going on and the perpetrators in the crime. I'll,
But
go ahead, Pastor Waller.
so yeah, I agree with you. One of the things almost Segbe keep mentioning is policing in the 21st century. Policing in the 21st century, there's a higher demand when it comes to combating crimes and other things than what policing used to be, in the past. And Bro Joe, the reason I asked, the question about what is Liberia national security interest is because, to me, we're supposed to prioritize this issue in Liberia. But right now, okay, think about the children that got missing that they haven't found. The accused are still walking free. Think about this guy that was that was beaten by police and killed. Okay, if people were not going to get in the street to protest, the president was never going to do anything about it. Think about the three auditors from the IRA that was murdered. Where is the investigation? There are so many things that are going on in our country that are not being investigated. Okay, and when you become weak on crime, it increases. Think about how our community are being infested with drugs. Where our young people are being the victim, why the people that sell drugs to them are getting rich every day, but there is no investigation. Nothing is being done about it. There are so many things that lead our society very vulnerable to us returning to things that we used to
Hello?
experience before. And it is just very, very sad. It's just very sad that in this 21st century, we are still experiencing these kind of things. We look right now, it seems like we don't have any direction because nothing is working. Criminal justice system does not work. The judicial system does not work. Nothing is working. There are so many cases that are yet to be investigated, and nothing comes out of it. You can be weak on crime. Criminals
Pastor Waller,
don't like
Pastor
weak
Waller,
leadership.
if we don't have a system, or if we do have a system and we are not following the system, then there's no way this thing can be solved. So, I mean, the honorable is back, so let's give him an opportunity to speak.
Mr. Brown?
Yes,
Okay. Sorry that I missed you guys there for a minute. I had to stop because, having the conversation, I wasn't driving. I stopped in the hotel. We've been talking. I was sitting in the car, parked. So,
Yeah,
we
we,
were
we, we
talking
we are happy
about,
to have you back. This
Thank you.
we're seeing that this is a very important discussion. And one of the things you keep
Yep.
mentioning is that we are in the 21st century. Policing in the past
Yep.
is different from policing
Yeah.
in the 21st century now. And you have made some
Yep.
good recommendations that I'm hoping and praying that our national leadership can take into consideration, because it seems that we are not prioritizing this national security thing. That's what I actually asked you about. What is Liberia's national security interest? Because it seems that we don't have none.
Well,
And it is just sad.
well, the interest of Liberia right now should be building a nation that will be of economic value. And what people need to understand, every developed nation has spent serious money on national security. You can't have merchants coming. You will have people coming into your country to invest if they don't have the sense of security. If there's no sense of security, that their value, whatever they bring to your country, will be valued and will be safe, they're not coming there. So the economic development post-war of Liberia has to be based on the security sector. And I think the government needs to make national security a priority. Now, I can tell you, there is nowhere in the world when the people submitting their budget, they submit the national security budget.
Right.
National security budget is never submitted because it's ongoing and it's evolving. Anything can happen anytime,
Right.
and you will have to spend that money, and you will have to make sure that you secure the lives and property of your citizens. So you can't put no value to that. To say that we want, $1 billion for this year's national security budget. Anything catastrophic could have happened, and you will find yourself in the position of national security. And I can tell you one thing, some of the things that we don't do, the basic things we don't do. I don't know if you guys know, but we had a man-made disaster in 1980 in Bumming Hills, whereas they had a mudslide. And I remember 3 o'clock that morning, there were calls on the radio because I used to hang with my dad, and he woke up and said, "We got to go to Bumming Hills because we got a disaster." There was a mudslide that covered an entire town. An entire town. People were buried in their homes. I don't know if you guys heard about it. That created a sense of security. Only the security operators could go there. But again, that was right after the coup. They went over there with no tools, nothing. And they just watched the houses, and people were pointing, "Oh, there was a house over there, there was a house over there." Everything. We don't even know to this day how many people died in that mudslide.
Wow.
We don't know.
Wow.
So how do we prevent that? We're talking about the Buchanan. When I used to go to Buchanan as a camp that they have, those are some of the things we talk about national security threats.
So
Because once something like that happens to your citizen, the government has to respond.
yeah, this is a very interesting. This is very interesting.
So,
Because
so
because of time,
go ahead.
because of
Yeah.
time, we have to move on to the next topic. But
Okay.
we have to bring it back for us to dive deeper into it, because one of the things we want to do
Pastor, what I can
is
hear
to
you.
actually make national security discussion
Yeah.
important in the coming elections 2023. People have to
Okay.
know where presidential candidate stands on the national security front. But let's go to corruption.
Oh my God.
That's a good one.
Honorable Sewe, we don't have enough time to talk about corruption. But yes, my first question. Our
Okay.
society, the Labyrinth society, right now, corruption is like a culture. It's like a lifestyle. Okay, people see corruption as 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 a perfection. Most especially the young generation, they think if you can steal from government, if you can steal from your country, you cannot make a living in Liberia. How can you counteract that kind of mindset that I go into public life for me to steal because that's what everybody does? How can you counteract that kind of mindset?
Well, that's a tough question, my brother. And the reason why I say that it's a tough question because even myself, as a young man growing up, as a child growing up in Liberia, I grew up in Buzikwater, Ghana's Bay, St. Paul, Painesville, all over the place. And one of the things that we saw as young people growing up, we consider the people who were successful bishops. The bishops are people who had houses, who had their cars, who sent their kids to private school. Okay? So for us, we never thought that someone who could be a mechanic can be a bishop too, can make money. Everybody has to work for the government. That's why the University of Liberia did not expand itself to teaching different curriculums for a long time. I don't know. The University of Liberia never had anything that had to do with criminal justice, from what I know. And these are things that I did that deals with basic human lives. And when you start to do that, it starts to teach you some ethics on what your responsibility is. We went and read the civic for Liberian schools. I don't know if they still teach civics in the country. Those are things that told you about who's responsible for what, and you as a citizen, your responsibility to your country. When it comes to the era of corruption, I don't think we have done enough, and it's going to be a long time for us to do a lot because our same brothers and sisters who leave from here, from the United States, we're not
Right.
saying that corruption is not in the United States or anywhere other than Liberia. We're not saying Liberia is exclusive when it comes to corruption. There's corruption everywhere, but there are mechanisms in place for accountability and where they can deter people from being corrupt. For Liberian culture, it is so prevalent because everyone goes there, and then people come from here and go to Liberia, and that's why the people say they don't want. Some of the reason why they don't want dual citizens, they say because the people who come from America when they finish stealing our money, soon we go beyond there, they will run away and go back. And that's a sentiment that is shared amongst a lot of Liberian people.
Right.
We do have honest people, but some of those honest people, because of corruption, they cannot come into the culture and try to help. Because when you come in there and like you rightfully said, it has become a norm. If you come with something different to hold people accountable and say, oh, see, bringing us, so we're ready for you. This is the way we've been doing it. Now, one of the things that I deduced from my 2 trips in Liberia, people doing the wrong thing continue to do it and say, this is how we do it. And they know it's wrong. They know it's wrong. But this is how we can do it. That doesn't make it right because you're used to doing it. There has to be a time where you have to try something new, something different. And to change your country, you can't do the same. That's what they call insanity. You can't do the same thing all the time and expect different results.
Different result.
You cannot do that. So as far as corruption, it's going to be tough. It has to start from the top. It has to start from the top. And I'll give you one of the things when one of the things that I learned from being involved in politics is this. And I will reference Barack Obama administration. When Barack Obama came over, they had a huge mortgage fraud incident in this country, in the United States. And the first thing Barack Obama did, he said, if we're going to do this with an economy bust like this, and how people are losing their homes and all of that, you know what he told the staff at the White House? Don't expect if you have a raise that is supposed to come because it's set up in a way that people are supposed to get raises after a certain amount of year. He told the staff in there, he said, if you're going to stay with this administration, don't expect to get a raise in the next 4 years. We're going to start with us. Don't expect to get a raise. If the government knows that you're coming to your 10 years or your 11 year, your 15 year, and you're entitled to a raise, don't expect to get that raise. Because the country is hurting right now because of the mortgage market. And if we don't do this, with unemployment so high at 17 and 18% in our country, we need to find a way to correct it. Those kind of action needs to be taken by a leader in Liberia. Until we can deter corruption and we can try to do things, this is where we're going to stop. We're going to start with. If it starts from the leader, from the head, it will work your way down. You don't want to work your way from down up. You want to start from up and go down when it comes to government. So the issue of corruption has to be a serious topic in the election process as you make it national security that, so that these candidates need to understand that those are pressing issues. Corruption threatens national security interests. It threatens national security. Pink blank, and I will stop on that.
All right, yeah, go ahead, Pastor Waller.
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I understand you're saying that corruption. Uh, I don't know how well Liberians going to eradicate corruptions in Liberia, but if we're going to start from the top down, that's a good thing. But also, people who are stealing the country money should be held accountable and be penalized for it. You can't have somebody invested in the country funds, and then when they get caught, you change the position to another ministry. That's wrong. These people need to be held accountable and be penalized and able to pay the money back to the Liberian people. Now, let's talk about corruptions. Let's look at what makes corruption. Let's say, for example, I'm sitting here today. If I ran in Liberia for a district and I become a representative, all my family members that I have not known for years and years, they will come directly to me for assistance, financial assistance. Oh, this is your great grand auntie or your niece. We need help with tuition. Now, being as a family person, you take into consideration, oh, I need to help with all the extended family. Now, your basic salary cannot afford you to take care of yourself and your extended family. What happened now? You try to manipulate the system and make movement like bring people to be able to sustain your family and then your extended family. But how can we face this problem if a man who is just being elected into public administration or public sectors now working for the government, the entire family see him to be the breadwinner. Now he got to send 17 people to school and also pay for food and other kids. How can one person do that? That gives rise to corruption. So my question to you, I understand we should start from the top to the bottom, but with this kind of a situation like this, how can we fix it?
Well, Mr. Brown, you make an excellent point. That has to do with culture. The culture of our country dictates that when someone is in authority, people run to them too for assistance. But it doesn't mean that that person is compelled to assist. And that's where the teaching moment comes in. If you don't have it, you don't have it. The little that you have, if you dispose of it and give it to people, you let them know this is all I have. And you need to start to educate your own people. You don't circumvent the process because guess what? And the government, when I say it starts from the top, the government needs to take a stand. If someone is caught, they need to be prosecuted and they need to be brought, and the country need to retrieve whatever this person has stolen.
Yep.
But what happened is our people don't have no laws. They have the law there, but they don't enforce it. They don't go after the people that are corrupt because everybody. And one thing I know, my brother, when I went in there, one of the important things that breed corruption is everybody owe everybody a favor. Okay? Everyone in Liberia is compromised. Everybody has given this person something, and when this person gets there, they expect something. Even in your election process. In the electoral process. When I elect you, my man, you got to do that for me. You put someone there, you go to them and say, you need to do that for me. No. And that's where the education comes in. People need to know when you run for political offices, you're running to represent people. The first thing we need to know is that government officials are not supposed to get rich. They're not supposed to be the richest people. When I was a child growing up, I know market women who sold oil and better board. They have money enough to build big concrete houses like ministers and send their children to private school. Be the Monroe College and all of those schools. Market women who couldn't read and write. They earn their money honestly and invested in their children. But when you minister, you send your kid to Beta Harris, you don't have to pay tuition. But the market women send their children there, they have to pay tuition. That's what we're talking about. Who's on the board of the schools? You see, so it has become an entrenched culture when we talk about corruption. It has to start from the top because once we start to prosecute people that are corrupt, and I can tell you one man I did with Torbert. I don't know if you guys were around during Torbert administration, but one of the things Torbert did that I remember as a young man, and people used to talk to him, and people really started to do that, is people working for government and not going to the office for more than 2 hours. They're in their home and they say they're at work. The president used to go to the ministry. He gets out of Bento or if he sleeps at the mansion, he doesn't tell them he's coming to the ministry. He drives into the Ministry of Public Work at 7:45. If he enters there and the minister is not there, you're fired. He puts somebody in there to deputize until he can appoint somebody. Guess what? Everybody started going to the ministry before 8 o'clock. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Certain things as a deterrent. So I will give you a chance because we're pressed for time. It's almost time.
Right. So we have few more minutes to go. But let me say this, right? There should be no reason whatsoever that would make somebody to steal from their country. Most especially when you are a child of God. When you steal from your country because you have the opportunity to do that, you are a disgrace to your faith. You should never be in that position to ever do that. Nobody. That is not patriotism. You cannot steal from your country. You cannot steal from your country, and you think you are supporting your country, or you are supporting your president, or you are supporting your government. That is a shame. And people that are involved in that should be ashamed of themselves, most especially when you're a child of God, who goes into public life to make a difference, and you have become part of the system. The same thing you criticize, you become part of it. That's a shame. And that should never happen. That should never happen. I'm saying this is my
And
question. This is my question to you.
go ahead.
And we are pressed against time, but I really want to hear your opinion on this. My question have to do with what I consider to be this legal corruption, where lawmakers create an avenue for them to give themselves huge bonuses. The executive branch does it, the judicial branch does it, the legislative branch does it. They all come together in the name of legality, create this system where they give themselves a huge budget, huge amount of money, when the commoners, when the typical Liberians are struggling, they are dying from basic necessities. What can you say to those kind of people? What can you say to them? Because asking the question alone is getting me angry. What can you say to them?
Well, you can't get angry, Pastor. Please don't get angry. Because if you get angry, it takes away your focus from wanting to do something that's productive. My thing is that, here what it is. When was the last time in your lifetime that Liberia had an event, or Liberian leader had an event where they appreciated people who work for the government?
Can't remember.
Never.
Right,
Never.
but that shouldn't be the justification for
No,
corruption.
no, 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 no. The reason why this is a rhetorical question. The reason why I ask the question is that when you reinforce the right thing, then people start to copy. Okay? When you create a system where everyone trying to grab for themselves, then what I'm saying, what my own turn is that no one has pride for Liberia. No one loves the country enough. You have to have love for country and love for people. To serve people, you have to have love for country and love for people. Liberians, government entity, be it the executive, the judicial, and the legislators, they need to understand that those positions are public servant positions. They're there to serve, not to enrich themselves. I pray for the day. I pray for the day. I may not see it in my lifetime, but hopefully it may happen one day in Liberia, where people who have squandered, who have embezzled money, government funds, their property will be seized, and those revenues from those property will go to areas like education, healthcare, national security, where everybody can benefit from it. I pray for that day. And this is the first time I've seen this
Let me
publicly. So when we talk about stopping corruption, it's a tough thing to do, but I think it has to start from the top level. If you have somebody who comes there and set a structure in place to serve as a deterrent and prosecute and make sure judges cannot be fired, they're there for life, and they're responsible to do their job, and they're held responsible to do it, by all means, then we can find ourselves going somewhere.
But Abraham,
You
before we close.
yeah, you make a pretty good point. With the corruption part, I think when the system is set where these people are caught doing corruptions, public shame. I'll be honest with you, like you just said, confiscate the properties, sell the property and put the money back into the institution that need the most. Look, if the, like what you just said, Pastor Water, if the government officials are making uh corruption lawful to themselves, whether enriching themselves, that are getting money from the country, they should be able to take that money and put it into healthcare system, put it into education, transportation. How can you be a minister in Liberia? You are senator for the counties, and then when you say you get in actually into Ghana to go to Colorado Hospital. Now you leave your healthcare system. So you're telling me your healthcare system is not better for you, okay? So it's better for the commoners because you know they are you don't have the equipment and the right people in there to carry out to help to carry out the medical assistances in this hospital. I think the government should come to a point where is that all government officials should not travel out of the country for medical care, except it is critical that care cannot be provided in the country. And their children cannot leave the country to go to schools outside the country. They should stay in the country and go to school. And these are things that if the government put this into place, those people who are in power transfer their knowledge and their money into the institution that need the most. Because if you think your child cannot go to be the in market because you think they don't have a qualified teacher, we got to send to Ghana to go to school in Ghana or Nigeria because you think they have a better system there. Why are you leaders in Liberia? I
Yeah.
think all the children should go to school in Liberia. They all should stay there to go to hospital. They all should stay there and have the bank accounts in Liberia, have the bank account overseas. So in case anything happens, the money is not grow, we can confiscate it and take that money and put it right back into the institution needed the most. Look, the government needs to do more. And especially the voters, the people that voted people in the office, they need to be aware of this situation. How can we put pressure on the government to make change? You
Yeah.
know?
I, I think we have to continue to talk about it. If anybody, whether in
Yeah.
public life or private life, if you have the money to send your children out of the country to go for medical checkup, to attend school in any part of the world, that is your decision. It just shouldn't be corruption money. Leave the country money alone. Let the people in the country that deserve it receive it. If you get your own money and you want to do all of that, that is up to you. But
But
don't
Pastor Wallo,
steal to do that.
Pastor Wallo,
Don't steal
Pastor
to
Wallo, the
make
point I'm
your life
making,
better, and then you make other people life miserable. Don't.
Pastor Wallo, the point
That
I'm
is
making
an
here is
issue.
the point I'm trying to make is these guys were not sending the kids to schools outside the country, but they become leaders of the country, but now they're sending their kids outside of the country to go to school. Okay, that's my point I'm trying to
But
make. If that's the
You
case,
yeah,
know,
no,
if
I
you
understand the
know,
point you are making, Gojo. I understand the point you are
if
making.
I can,
But
if I can
we are
just
out
say
of
this,
time. We are out of time.
yeah,
We
if
want
I
to
can just say this,
appreciate
let me just say this.
Sembe for sharing this platform with us today. It is highly
Pastor
appreciated.
Wallo,
Thank you for all of your thoughts and your
Pastor Wallo,
comments. We're going to take a last comment from you, and then
okay.
your
Well, I
last
can
comment,
tell
your
you,
parting comment, sir.
okay, thank you very much. You guys doing a hell of a job. I'm not sure what you do, whether this has been recorded and replayed, or whether or not they something that you can count who the audience are. But for the audience out there, we want to say get involved in the conversation. One of the things we need to do is we need to commit to doing some voter education, and that is if you go to
Yeah,
Liberia, go to the village, go to a township, collect a few group of people, give them some food for thoughts on some of these issues that we're talking about. Uh, we talk about, people restricting, like Mr. Brown was saying, Joe Brown was saying, about not having their children go to school. If you build good schools in Liberia, nobody will send their children out of the country. So
Yeah.
and we can tell the difference. We need to invest in our school system, in our healthcare system. Liberia, believe it or not, Liberia had one of the best healthcare systems in the world back in the 60s when JFK opened. People came to JFK from all over Africa for treatment, from everywhere. So that JFK hospital, I can tell you, service people from all over the world. They came there. And there's a story about JFK Hospital being one of the first to really treat cancer patients in the 60s, believe it or not. So if you build the good things, the people would not have to leave the country. But we need to continue to hold people accountable. So my parting words is that we need to keep praying about this. We need to engage more people. We need to have more conversation. We need to do some grassroots, Palava talk, other than sitting at the university and doing seque and doing all that crazy stuff. Those are not called for. They're not doing nothing. Everybody, allude to, what you call it, moya, 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 all those things. You're not making sense when you do all of that crazy cry. We want to deduce from your conversation something that can help our nation. Seque, all those things not called for. You're not seeing anything. So my thing is that people need to get up. The people that know some stuff in their special areas. The next time I go to Liberia, I want to volunteer my service to at least have some town hall meetings or to go to the university or any college or university in Monrovia or in the country to lecture on any serious issues on security because that's my expertise. In any other area. I've done it voluntarily before. I can do it again. And I want to incite people to please go there. Your field of interest when you get there, please go and sponsor a lecture. Even if it's behind the house, even if it's under the plum tree. Gather about 5, 6 young people under the plum tree, talk to them, give them food for thoughts, give them knowledge, share with them how important their citizenship is to that nation. And with that, I think we can make a difference. So thank you for this opportunity.
Well,
Thank you.
the pleasure is ours. Thank you so much. We enjoy having you here. And yes, we live stream this on Facebook and YouTube. And it will continue to play on the social media. And if you come across our video, please share it. We want as many people as we can reach to see this video. Why we take national security issues and corruption in our country seriously. On that note, Honorable Sebe, thank you so much. We are really really blessed to have you, and God bless you. Thank you. We look forward having you again in the future.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And that title there, honorable, you might not put it on me because we got most of our people that are honorable in Liberia, they don't deserve it.
Yeah. No,
They
you're
don't
right, but you
deserve it.
deserve it. They don't deserve it, but you deserve it.
They are
You are
honorable
honorable
because
because you do honorable things.
thank you. Thank you. I'm humbled. I'm
All right, you have a
humbled.
blessed day.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Brother Brown. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Bro
Whew.
Joe,
Yeah, Pastor Wallo.
what's your thought?
I think it was brilliant. Uh, it has enlightened me in many different ways. And this is what I see from the general conversations we have had. It would take the government to start to initiate this stuff, and then the people the second to execute this stuff. Because once you have a good relationship between the government and the people, you will have you have a steady and and perfect environment for everybody to live. With the aspect of the corruption and the national security issues, I think the government should spend more. money on the logistics for the police, the army, and whatever systems of governance we have for national security. Um, Once we have these things in place and the police are getting paid right, I think we'll have a good, good understanding of our police. To be honest with you, I just had a situation where somebody got the sheriff to go arrest somebody, and guess what? They both got on the motorbike to go arrest this person. Come on now, you're gonna take a motorbike to go arrest somebody, but the sheriff's on the motorbike going, and the person who is carrying the sheriff is the one that paid for the transportation to go arrest this person. Look, there are a lot of things the government need to do. And I'll be honest with you, if the Liberian people and the voters are aware, are in writing of these things, they will put more they'll put more emphasis to what the leaders can do for them to make their communities safer. But when, like I said again, the military is okay, but the police are the one that are supposed to have more logistics now in Liberia to be able to respond to crimes and other things in Liberia. So,
Yeah,
uh,
I,
like I
I
said,
I
if
I
the
agree
police
with you.
officer is hungry, you're not paying for 2 3 months, he gonna get involved into corruption.
Yeah, it's most especially in the 21st century. But yeah, I agree with you. And Honorable Simbe was he was brilliant. I want to say appreciation to him a lot, and to you,
Yeah.
Bro Joe. Thank you for the questions, and I
Yeah.
think everything was spot on. Um, we want to say thank you for those of you that will come across our video. We want to appeal to you, share our videos, let people understand how important national security is, and so that when politicians come in your community, they come in your district, they come in your county, you will be able to ask them some of these questions and hear their thoughts and mind concerning the stability of Liberia. It should be a priority in this election. And every other thing is attached to this very important subject we talk about today. And so thank you very much. Uh, we are looking forward having another fascinating discussion next week, Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern time.
You,
Uh,
Pastor, can I make a suggestion? I think if we can get we can get a contact with somebody in Liberia to speak to just one of the police officers, lower rank police officers, and put it on the show and hear the side of the story, so we know what they need because they are the one on the front line, of everything when it comes to the national security interest, especially for the
okay.
police
We,
department.
we, we,
I think we
we
can
try
look at
we
that.
try to do that. But yeah, we might, yeah, if we are able to get the president of the Labyrinth Fellowship of Full Gospel, he's supposed to be with us on Saturday. If
Okay.
he tells me that he's okay and he will be on, then we'll go with him. But if not, we will put him to the next Saturday and then find a police, one of the police leaders that can come, and then we can talk to for us to get an understanding of what the police go through, because sometimes it's easier, you're right, Roger, it's easier to criticize not knowing the
Yeah.
constraint these people go through and all of that. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but
very
Pastor
important.
Wallo, based on what we just said during the whole conversations, what was I mean, what would be your suggestions to the Liberian government? Oh, yeah, he got yeah, okay, he's muting himself.
Yeah, Roger, what were you saying?
Now, I was saying, based on the discussion we just had, what do you think would be your suggestions to the Liberian government?
Oh,
If
well,
you
we
have to
really
suggest
don't
something.
have time, but one of the things that Sedgwick said that that I appreciate is taking the police force or the police, department under the Ministry of Justice, and create a police commission that can handle the business of the police. I think that make a lot of sense to me, because the Ministry of Justice should be in a position to investigate not just uh, civilian crimes, but also crimes in the police. But if they are if the police department is on the Ministry of Justice, it will be that the Ministry of Justice is investigating itself. So I think that was a very good recommendation.
But do you
And
also think
I'm hoping
do you
that
also think since we share logistics and supplies for the police, do you think is a good recommendation to suggest that we have a third party security in Liberia?
what does that mean?
Like
Third party security.
like the third parties can have. Like, for example, if I go to Liberia right now, if I want to create a security um um a, a security system wherein I have a security group. Well, let's say I'm about from Benefit Estate, and I say, well, this is security is called Security Bville, and we have police tactics, and we can respond to crime. Do you think it would be such, is a good recommendation to kind of like suggest that we have a third party security in Liberia?
Yeah. So yeah, I think so, because in the absence of that, surveillance form what we call vigilante groups in
Yeah.
our various communities to improvise for security because of the actions of the police when there is too much crime in the various communities. We do that. So yes, I think that's going to help, but it has to be done, in a very systematic way, because sometimes people can also take advantage of that to perpetrate crimes.
Yeah, but when I'm saying, I
Well,
wasn't speaking directly to vigilante, but something well organized and structured
that's
that
what I'm
that
saying.
needs to be government.
It has to be well organized and well structured.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah, I
sure.
think that can help as well. Yeah. But
Well,
thank you. I want to say thanks to everybody. We hope you can learn from our discussion today. Labra can benefit from the discussion. And we say we look forward seeing you next week at 6 o'clock on Saturday. I mean 5 o'clock on Saturday. God bless you. Until we see you, it's goodbye.